So let's start. And hello everyone. Welcome to this first presentation of the preview of Report 2020 of Family International Monitor on the theme Family and Relational Poverty, conducted by Family International Monitor in these years and half of the past years in collaboration with 10 different universities of 10 countries in the world. So I would like to greet and thank you all that are taking part in this meeting. Our guest speakers, Monsignor Vincenzo Paglia, President of the Family International Monitor, Grand Chancellor of John Paul II Pontifical Institute, Monsignor Pierangelo Sequeri, Vice President of Family International Monitor and Dean of John Paul II Pontifical Theological Institute, José Luis Mendoza, that is our Vice President of the Catholic University of Murcia, that are sending us a short video message of greetings and thanks. And then thank you all your journalists and students and personalities that are attending this meeting. So let's start this moment with a short video of few seconds. Thank you.
The Family International Monitor is an international research project that wants to analyze and narrate the real living conditions of families around the world. It was inspired by Pope Francis' teaching and established in December 2018 from the Pontifical John Paul II Theological Institute, from the Catholic University of Murcia, and from the International Center for Family Studies in Milan. The first 3 years of activity, 2019-2021, is dedicated to the relationship, family and poverty, with national reports from several countries of the world. 2001 report is dedicated to relational poverty.
So, I give the floor to our President, Monsignor Vincenzo Paglia. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much. Welcome all of you to this first presentation of the preview of the results of the research that the Family International Monitor has been conducted for over a year on the topic family and of relational poverty. In December 2018, the Pontifical John Paul II Institute, together with the Catholic University of Murcia and the CHIS from Milan, following the inspiration of the Holy Father, decided to found this international monitor. As we all know, families play a decisive role for society. We can say that they literally keep it alive. Families are the foundation of every society, and from their state of health, we can deduce the degree of economic, social, and existential well-being and prosperity in society. Politics does not always pay attention to the extraordinary resource that the family represents for society. With this monitor, we would like to highlight some of its aspects so that they can be the object of a more careful consideration. And I would like to stress the fact that this meeting takes place while our institute presents its new curriculum. This is the book, only in Italian now, but we will translate in English and other languages, which I had the pleasure to present to the Holy Father just yesterday morning. I would also like to emphasize the fact that from this new theoretical approach, the essential role of the family emerges as one of the achievements of the alliance between man and the woman that in creation received from God the task of protecting the creation and being responsible for the generations. Therefore, in this richness of the constellation of its relationship and affection, we recognize the family as the engine of history, and we claim this vocation to be recognized to it. The experience of the pandemic that has suddenly and dramatically overwhelmed our personal lives and also the lives of our societies, our economies, our policies, has once again shown the evidence of this truth. The fact of observing the families, their histories, vulnerabilities, and opportunities helps us to know the quality of a people's civilization, the stability and the strength of a country, and at the same time, it offers us some light to build a more human future for all. We have chosen to inaugurate our academic work starting from the topic family and of relational poverty. And the next year, we will focus on the relationship between family and economic poverty. The decision to be our investigation by depending the relational dimension is not accidental, but rather reflects the anthropological issue that the first patrimony, the first indispensable results of human being, without which every person risks getting lost and losing his or her identity, is constituted by the relation that find in the family their first materialization. We want to ask ourselves how much and to what extent in Benin, Lebanon, South Africa, Chile, Brazil, Qatar, India, Italy, and Spain, the lack of prosperity of the relational dimension affects the life stories of individual families and the very functioning of the societies they belong to, and to what extent to development and economic growth depend on it too. I'm convinced, dear friends, that the fact of trying to answer these questions in a rigorously scientific way by activating a virtuous synergy between universities and research centers all over the world gives us the possibility to listen and read reality as it is, to try to interpret it, to hope to direct it with wisdom and conscience. Thank you very much, and good work for us our day.
Thank you, our President. Thank you for your message. And now let me show you a short video message from José Luis Mendoza of Catholic University of Murcia.
Muy buenos días. Saludo cordialmente a las autoridades eclesiásticas presentes en este encuentro sobre la familia y la pobreza relacional. De modo especial a Su Excelencia Reverendísima Monseñor Vincenzo Paglia, Gran Canciller del Pontificio Instituto Pontificio Teológico Juan Pablo II para la Familia y Presidente de la Academia Pontificia para la Familia. También a Monseñor Pierangelo Sequeri, Presidente del Pontificio Instituto Teológico Juan Pablo II para la Familia. Al profesor Francesco Belletti, director del CIS y director científico del Observatorio Internacional de la Familia. Y cordialmente también saludo a todos los partners presentes de distintos países del mundo a través de esta videoconferencia que hacemos desde Murcia, capital, que con su extraordinario trabajo de investigación han hecho posible que se pueda ofrecer hoy los primeros avances del informe 2020 referente a la familia y pobreza relacional en el mundo actual. y a todos los que por vía telemática están presentes en este bello encuentro. Con estos datos, en este primer informe, se está prestando un importante servicio a la Iglesia y a toda la humanidad en los 5 continentes, y de modo especial en los países más pobres de la tierra, como nos indicaba el Papa Francisco, hablándonos de la importancia de una Iglesia en salida. Quiero también felicitar a todos los centros universitarios que con la investigación científica llevada a cabo hacen posible que se cumplan los objetivos fundamentales del Observatorio Internacional de la Familia, como centro de análisis, investigación y formación sobre la situación de la familia en el mundo actual. Enfoque disciplinario que llevamos a cabo desde el punto de vista económico, jurídico, pastoral, sociológico y psicológico. Todos sabemos la importancia que tiene la familia cristiana como núcleo fundamental de la sociedad, como fuente de vida y de salvación, teniendo siempre presente como modelo a la Sagrada Familia de Nazaret, en la que Jesús, José y María vivían en alabanza, humildad y sencillez, en la bendición. Sin lugar a duda, la familia cristiana y el hogar cristiano como fuentes de caridad fraterna son la esperanza de nuestra sociedad y de la humanidad, fundamentada en el amor, en la entrega generosa al otro. Por eso nosotros tenemos en la universidad el espíritu de servicio y de entrega, solidarios con los más pobres, los más necesitados, los que más sufren, los más enfermos y los más alejados de la tierra, a los que Dios nos llama a servir, a ayudar y a amar. Uno de los pilares fundamentales de nuestra universidad es la investigación científica y técnica, a la luz de la verdad revelada en Cristo. Esto nos permite llevar a cabo, a través del Observatorio de la Familia, estrategias que permitan una profundización del conocimiento científico, humano y cristiano y de la conducta ética a las nuevas generaciones. A través de este observatorio pretendemos innovar y modernizar la labor que desarrollamos, teniendo en cuenta los cambios demográficos, los procesos de internacionalización, la globalización económica, así como las nuevas tecnologías de la información y de la comunicación y revolución tecnológica producidas en el campo de las comunicaciones, que conllevan nuevos planteamientos docentes e investigadores, como por ejemplo el desarrollo de la enseñanza bimodal que llevamos a cabo en nuestra universidad, enseñanza en todas las modalidades online, semipresencial y presencial, el trabajo de investigación sobre la familia en red, la teleinformación, el teletrabajo, los centros de autoaprendizaje, la llamada universidad virtual, que ya hemos puesto en marcha a nivel internacional con el Pontificio Instituto Juan Pablo II para la Familia y con la Academia Pontificia para la Vida, dando formación en 85 países, sobre todo en los países más pobres de la Tierra, a los que hay que ayudar, a los que hay que formar. Por lo tanto, si la persona humana es el punto de partida y de llegada de nuestra misión fundamental, es en ella en quien se centra nuestra institución, y para ello pone a su disposición todos los recursos necesarios para ofrecer su contribución científica. Y como el hombre se descubre a sí mismo solo en las relaciones humanas, de las cuales las primeras y las más esenciales son las relaciones familiares, es precisamente a la institución de la familia a la que queremos dedicar una parte importante de nuestro trabajo. La familia, de hecho, es la unidad básica de la sociedad, el lugar natural para recibir la vida y para proteger y formar al nuevo miembro de la sociedad. De ahí nace la participación de la Universidad Católica en este gran proyecto del Observatorio Internacional de la Familia. Quiero una vez más felicitar a la red de entes colaboradoras por llevar a cabo la primera investigación relativa a la forma en que la pobreza relacional y económica están influyendo en las distintas dinámicas familiares, y del mismo modo a todas las personas implicadas en este bello proyecto. Gracias al profesor Belletti por esa gran labor que está llevando, al profesor, al padre Javier Belda, que está coordinando todos los proyectos de la universidad con la Santa Sede, al profesor José Alberto Cánova, que también dirige aquí en Murcia el Observatorio Mundial de la Familia. Y deseo de corazón que Dios bendiga este Observatorio Internacional de la Familia y que el Espíritu Santo lo conduzca y guíe para bien de toda la Iglesia y la humanidad, y de modo especial que bendiga y proteja a nuestro Santo Padre, el Papa Francisco. Muchas gracias.
So thank you very much to the Vice President of Family International Monitor, José Luis Mendoza.
No, non ho sentito l'audio, ma penso che tocca a me.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I would like
Thank
to
you,
thank you,
Valeria.
José
Thank
Luis
you.
Mendoza, and I give you the floor, Monsignor Sequeri, please.
Yeah. Thank you. I want to greet and thank too, on behalf of the John Paul II Institute, all the participants in this seminar for the presentation of the draft report 2020. Our interest towards the Family International Monitor is direct and specific. We have offered our institutional support to this research network, and we participate with conviction in its program. Therefore, first of all, I want to express my satisfaction for the quality of the commitment, of the direction, and of the scientific partnership that guarantees the functioning and the development of this project. Family, the fundamental network of human society, is not, first of all, a duty of civil society, but it rather is the foundation of the affective quality of the bonds of coexistence and the basis of the ethical disposition towards the work of care. These are two essential qualities for the well-being of the community and for the humanism of politics. The quality of the family condition, therefore, is an indicator of the utmost importance for the monitoring of the health condition of a civil society and for the assessment of the entire political and cultural system. Family is a strength of the production of the common good and of the circulation of the relational goods, which shape the social environment in which the persons are formed and develop themselves. If family itself is considered as a secondary dimension of the construction of the civil system, which essentially treats society as a group of individuals, the quality of its contribution to the common good is not really recognized. This recognition defect is destined to create an increasing great and dangerous divide between the person and the community. The draft report 2020 accounts for the observation of the detailed analysis of the forms and the conditions of the impoverishment of the family. One of the original traits of this research is the commitment with the assessment of the factors of deprivation of the family reality in a multidimensional perspective, that is, as broad and differentiated as possible. This will allow the researchers to make a substantial progress in the perfecting of the social, ethical, and also theological considerations that must guide the motivations and the practices of a responsible subsidiarity. Thank you very much.
Thank you, our Vice President, Monsignor Sequeri. Thank you for your words. And now, before to leave the floor to Francesco Belletti, head of the research, that we will show you some preview of results of the research, just a short video, a few seconds.
when the social fabric shows its greatest weakness or fragility, then the importance of family emerges. When the economic system marginalizes people, when the freedom is limited, when conflicts affect populations, in these various circumstances, family relationships are the most valuable resource for defending the dignity of each person. For this reason, society must learn to recognize the family and its added value.
So, thank you, and I leave the floor to Francesco Belletti, head of the research, with this preview of Report 2020 of Family International Monitor. Thank you, Francesco.
Our project started in a couple of years ago, and now we are showing just some partial results. And I have to show you some reflection of the methodology that we adopted, and then some information about the findings. The project of the Family International Monitors is a long-lasting project, and we choose for the first 3-year project to focus on family and poverty, since we believed that it could be a good opportunity to join our efforts in knowing how families live to the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. Actually, all the goals of this set of 17 goals are relevant for family. But for instance, the first one, no poverty; number 2, zero hunger; and then gender equality; and then to reduce inequalities. All of these are supporting us in putting family and poverty at the focus of this 3-year project. The model we wanted to adopt to consider family and its relationship with the society is shortly showed by this model. We wanted to analyze, and we started from the hypothesis that the relational and economic poverty of the families, which are on the bottom of the slide, depends from a complex systems of interaction, where the challenges and the opportunities created by the economic system confront themselves with the resources and the fragilities of the relational family system, which means that the family is a social and active actor, which is dealing with the economic sector, having work or not, having poor conditions or not, having opportunities or not. And when these fragilities and the resources of the family and stresses from the economic system clash, and families can resist or they can fall in poverty. And this relation is further qualified and modified by the cultural system, which is the social approved values, the personal choices and lifestyles, the media influence, so that the perception of family relations can be considered a good thing or something that is not so necessary. And finally, after this interaction between family and the economic system, the public actions, the possible actions of public policy can change a lot the conditions, the living conditions of families. Welfare models, solidarity policies, responsibilities on various levels on the public administration, and also a good presence of mixed private, public and non-profit systems can help or stress more the family resilience. So we are looking different types of information to draw a picture of how family is coping with the economic and the political system. We collected national quantitative information, then we were looking for a specific research, maybe in geographical smaller areas or on specific topic, let's say a report on the elderly condition in specific country. And then the third one at micro level was trying to collect information and life stories of families and good practices of services from public services or from NGOs or something like this. So to consider the conditions of the families need to pick up a set of very different information. So we will not introduce only quantitative information, statistics and percentages, but we deal with the qualitative dimensions of family life. Our analysis was focused in 11 different countries from all over the world. You can have a look to them. 3 from Africa, Benin, Kenya, and South Africa. 3 from Americas, and mostly from the southern part, in fact, Brazil, Chile, and Mexico. Then from Asia, India, Lebanon, and Qatar, and Europe, Italy, and Spain. So it is a sample, rather a non-representative sample, but many different national conditions that were very interesting in comparing in between. So we organized a common questionnaire with some general questions that was shared, that was drafted by the central research team, and then was shared in an expert meeting where we met with all the local national research teams. So we adopted a common model in order to have some comparative information, but we do believe that the local dimension of the phenomenon is very relevant. So we wanted a locally based research work in order to adapt the common model to the different national contexts. And now I take the opportunity to thank a lot all the local national equipes from a set of different university or private research centers, which were really essential in trying to collect the information for this report. And we wanted to consider especially these 4 dimensions of family life, which is the economic dimension, the educational responsibility of family, the role of care inside the family relation, and special attention to the intergenerational solidarity and care, and then the way in which families are aiding people to common good, to being active as a citizenship of the general community, not only for their own family interests, but also for the whole community. And so every family showed and can show strengths and weaknesses in each one of these 4 elements. And I have to say also that all this information, these slides, will be put on the website afterwards. So I will go a bit fast, but you can afterwards find information written afterwards. We will also issue in the next weeks a statistical profile of each country on these 8 main areas, relying upon more than 100 statistical indicators. So we put together qualitative analysis in local reports and the sort of structural framework of statistical information. Now, something about the results of our work. I will give you some suggestions, although the final report will be much longer and much more detailed. We found 4 main elements of the relational poverty of families in society dynamics. The first one was we found some internal vulnerability. In very different national contexts, some specific family conditions are more vulnerable than others, and this happens in very different countries. So it is not, it is a sort of general vulnerability for some kind of families that we can find also in the wealthy countries or in the less developed countries. We found also a sort of global effect. Many homogeneous social stresses are glided in different countries. Then I give you some examples afterwards. Then we found a micro-social analysis which showed a very high importance. We found internal geographical differences very important. So our belief that we needed a more local analysis was confirmed. Sometimes we can understand the condition of well-being of a country with a single number, which is an average of the whole country. But we can find in all the countries we have considered very high differences and gaps between different geographical areas. And then a fourth aspect, very relevant, was this micro-relational aspect. Family life is strongly determined by the individual's behaviors. So every interpersonal relations inside and outside the household is crucial for promoting or jeopardizing the individual well-being. For instance, in the internal vulnerability, we found single-parent families at higher risk of relational and economic poverty in many different countries. You can have a look to Kenya, Italy, Lebanon, Chile. Also, large families are at higher risk of economic poverty. And a worrying phenomenon of domestic violence emerged as a rather hidden but widespread phenomenon. Many of our local national researchers put the finger on this specific topic. And then a growing hardship in the daily care for the elderly is emerging in many countries, even in those with a lower percentage of elderly people. For Italy, for instance, the elderly percentage of people is very high, and we are well aware that we have to cope with. But also in very young countries like Benin, this problem is growing. Then we found some global effects that are quite interesting. For instance, the work-family life balance is a worry well spread in many countries, both on the side of the poor peoples who need too much time to work to have sufficient income, and both on the rather rich parts of the population. So this is a general problem. The growing role of information and technology and communication and digital relations is raising all over the world. And maybe there will be also a COVID effect after the lockdown, where the digital role was strong, important. And then we found growing inequality. Also the Sustainable Development Goals of the United Nations stress the problem of inequality. We are facing a world where inequalities are rising. And the inequality are from the income, from geographic distance, condition, from between ethnic groups, in gender, in generations, and in the cultural capital of the families. So this is a second attention for global problems. The microanalysis, we confirm the role of geographical differences, and then we also found specific vulnerabilities which are typical of some contexts, like the teen pregnancies and teen mothers in South Africa. And finally, these internal qualities, which are fundamental for family life, the couple relations and the gender differences, which show very often put some strong stresses on family well-being. And the key concept of our report, a sort of synthesis concept, is, on the whole, the family's strengths and resilience are even more useful and effective in the hardest social and economic challenges. According to the research findings, family relations are one of the most important resources for every stress from internal and external source in the family life. But they are much more relevant for vulnerable people who usually are bad treated by the economic system and by public interventions. So family is the real resource for vulnerable people. Then, and I am going to the closing of my intervention, 7 key issues were emerging specifically from the different reports. The educational poverty, the youth conditions, the vulnerability and separation, the phase of the family life where a child is born, the condition of elderly, the isolation, the social isolation, and the violence in family. And we have a lot of information from every country about these 7 topics. And then we found some cross-sectional topics that are common to all these 7 places, which is, sometimes I already told something about that. Women's condition, the care dimension of family life, the topic of the income and economic poverty, which we will be more carefully focused on next year, and then the digital dimension of life. So in the final report, we will frame a sort of 2 ways model of interpretation of this phenomenon, putting together the 7 key issues and the 4 cross-sectional topics. And just for an example, when we were dealing with educative poverty, we found, for instance, a gender gap from the Benin, where the literacy rate of all population was 40, and while for women it was 23. And then in Kenya, we found a really relevant geographical gap. In Chile, we found income gap very relevant. In Kenya, we found a gap which is generational, geographical as well, for each rural children are particularly vulnerable. And so the final report will produce a set of this kind of information, trying to do some comparison and putting a list of topics in agenda. So the final report will be presented in this form. We will have a methodological framework, the general report based on national country reports on qualitative and quantitative information, the statistical profiles, a glossary of the main concept, an overview of the literature, of the international literatures, and of other research monitoring. And then we are also working about the pandemic effect, which we couldn't put inside the analysis that we did, but which we already coped with through our newsletter Inside Families that you can find in our website, and which is a new challenge for all the research works that we did before. Sorry for the length of my presentation, and I hope that in the question and answers we can highlight some other information. And I thank again all the local researchers that contributed to our efforts. Thank you.
Thank you, Francesco Belletti, our head of research. Now our program would include suddenly 2 testimonials from our partner research in Chile and South Africa, but I would ask a little favor, because due to our Monsignor Vincenzo Paglia have to leave us in a few minutes because of another meeting with the Episcopate of Latin America about the COVID emergency. I would please some journalists to take some questions to him now before the witnesses because of a lack of time. So if some journalists that are attending now, some students or some personalities would like to present some questions to Monsignor Paglia, they can do it now. We are Luciano Moya now. Okay, I please the direct to give the floor to Luciano Moya. Thank you.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Posso fare domande in italiano?
Yes, you can.
Bene.
Sì.
Vedo che Monsignor Paglia nella sua introduzione ha già sottolineato il ruolo della politica e giustamente ha messo in luce come la politica sia spesso sorda alle richieste delle famiglie e delle associazioni familiari. Però questo corposo lavoro importantissimo, con tutte queste sue specificazioni, di grande significato nazione per nazione, è fondamentale che arrivi alle istituzioni, che venga fatto conoscere. Ecco, vorrei capire come si fa a far arrivare alle istituzioni che poi decidono concretamente sui vari temi, la scuola, politiche familiari, come si farà a far arrivare queste risorse di studio e di riflessione alle istituzioni politiche dei vari paesi?
Monsignor Vincenzo Paglia highlighted the role of politics during his speech, and of course we all know that politics are very important, and frequently politicians tend to ignore the requests that come from families and family associations. And one thing that is very important is to transmit the results of this work, which regard various countries, to politicians, because they're the ones who actually take the decisions. So how are we going to reach the institutions? How we are going to transmit the results of this research?
So please, Monsignor Paglia, now you can answer.
Cambiate le password, non mi si collega più alla rete wifi qua del giornale.
I please someone to move to the microphone.
Del telefonino, sì, scusami.
Maybe of Luciano. Okay, thank you. Please, Monsignor Paglia.
È molto importante che i risultati della nostra ricerca siano fatti conoscere, ovviamente, come stiamo facendo in questo momento, perché ci auguriamo anche che la politica non sia disattenta a quanto sta accadendo nel mondo. Inoltre sarà importante da parte nostra, e quando dico nostra intendo dire l'osservatorio, l'istituto, gli amici dell'istituto, per poterne parlare direttamente anche agli uomini politici dei nostri governi. Personalmente ho già interessato, ad esempio, il ministro della famiglia del governo italiano perché ponga attenzione a quanto noi stiamo già realizzando con il nostro istituto. Can translate in other language?
Okay, thank you. Yes. Is there the translation in English now?
Yeah, sorry. I believe that it is really important that our results, the results of this research, are known, and I think that what we are doing today, it's a way to let everybody know about these results. And I also believe that we, and when I say we, I mean us as the Family International Monitor, and also partners and friends, that we can speak directly to politicians. And I already spoke to I already tried to have the attention of the Ministry of Family in Italy on this subject, on this matter.
Okay, thank you. If there are not another questions from Monsignor Vincenzo Paglia, we can leave you to abandon the section for this another meeting.
Thank you very much.
Check information. Okay, no one. So thank you, President, for your attending.
Thank you very much, everyone.
Okay.
And you can continue in a better way than before, than now. Okay, yes. Bye-bye.
Thank you, President. Thank you.
All around the world, the highest burden of care is on women's shoulders. They are the backbone and the pivot of family relationships. If the social and economic system does not support them, women's effort and commitment in children protection and elderly care are further tested. Therefore, new public policies for women are needed. An economy that helps the conciliation of family and work, and a greater commitment of men in the responsibilities of family care.
So I ask you sorry for this little change of program, but you know that there are some meetings that cross over each other. So I would like to leave the floor now to our two witnesses from University of Chile, Valparaiso of Chile, and to the other partners from South Africa. So I leave the floor first to our partner, let me see, Juan Pablo Faùndez Allier from the Pontificia Università Cattolica di Valparaiso, and then to our partner in South Africa, that is Miss Imelda Diouf from Sequele Center for Family Studies, Brooklyn, Pretoria, South Africa. Thank you.
Hello, Valeria. Very good
Hello.
afternoon, Monsignor Paglia, Mr. Mendoza, Monsignor Sequeri, Dr. Belletti, Dr. Casanova. Although in Chile, we are starting the working day with an interdisciplinary team of 11 academics from our university. We have contributed to this great global work, presenting a picture of our country, reality in the 4 dimensions that the study has addressed in this first part. There are many aspects that we could highlight as challenge to be overcome in our country from the perspective of poverty. But I will stick with the first aspect that strengthens our social relations along these lines. While overcoming poverty has allowed us to move from 40% to 7% of poor people in our country in the last 30 years. The fruit of the development model have not been able to descend into areas of the population that claim to lack the benefits of economic growth. That generates today a serious political tension that, before the SARS-CoV-2 pandemic, has entered as a country in a serious social explosion that probably hope to be reactivated after the health emergency that we live as humanity. From poverty rise, therefore, a great uncertainty that is a project towards the political organization of our Chilean society, which we hope to face in the most mature way possible in a stage that is uncertain. Thank you.
Please, Imelda.
Oh, my
Okay.
turn. Thank you very much.
Okay.
So, from the South Africa side, dealing with the research, undertaking the research and developing the country report, gave the Sequele Center for Family Studies an opportunity to certainly to look at family from within, rather than family as a component of state and economics and some of the structural issues, but rather to look at family right from within, around the relationships and the dynamics within. And I think that is exceptionally important for us, because it allows one to look at why and how families are resilient, how they survive and thrive, but then also start highlighting all the issues around non-resilience and poverty, but from the internal relational aspects. I think also this kind of research for us starts to highlight and bring to the fore some of the shall we say, the unpalatable parts of family life that within the context of church we often don't like to mention. So the gender-based violence issues, the single mothers, the absent fathers, the orphan-headed household, the grandmother-headed households. But it also then helps us to start to address the issues of real family, the gender-based violence issues, the relationships between men and women within the household and within the family. And from the South African perspective, I think that is some of the very important work that we add to the research. And then just finally, and I think this addresses one of the question that was asked, it also has, from the research perspective and from the recommendations, certainly poses the issues of, does the family have its own voice in society? How does family actually start using its voice towards pro-family policies, building resilience, etc.? And so from the South African side, the Sequeri Center for Family Studies has been a very keen partner in all of this. Thank you.
Thank you to Professor Juan Pablo Faùndez Allier and Professoressa Miss Imelda Diouf from Chile and South Africa. I would like to remind you that now this meeting is attending from all our partners in the world that are, I would like to give you all the list. Maybe we can share it even in our chat of the meeting room. So now we are that are attending this meeting from Pontificio Instituto Teológico Juan Pablo II, Sección Mexicana in Mexico, Institut Pontifical Jean-Paul II d'Études sur Mariage et la Famille, Section of Benin, from Kenya, the Institute of Youth Studies, Tangaza University College, Spain, Instituto Universitario de la Familia, Universidad Pontificia Comillas de Madrid. From Italy, Università Cattolica di Milano, Centro di Ateneo di Studi e Ricerche sulla Famiglia. From Chile, that I said before. From Qatar, with Family Policy Department of Doha International Family Institute. Lebanon, Instituto della Famiglia dell'Università della Sagesse. From Brazil, with Instituto Teologico Juan Pablo II, Seção Brasileira. From India, Pontifical Theological Institute Jean Paul II, Indian section, and South Africa, as I said before. So now let's start with the moment of questions and answers from journalists, from students, from who are attending, who are taking part of this meeting. So to answer of this question will be Monsignor Pierangelo Sequeri, our partners of these different countries, and of course our head of research, Dr. Francesco Belletti. I remind you that these questions can be made in English, Spanish, Italian, or French. Then there will be the translation into English, and you can answer the question even in these three different languages, and obviously after there will be the translation in English. So if there are some questions, you can press the icon to ask the word that you see in the final part of your screen. There is someone who would like to make some questions about the research from our partners. Okay. So at least the regia take the floor to Atemanke Jude. Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you very well.
Please.
Can you hear me?
You can make the question, okay? To who?
All right, it's just a general question. I don't know who particularly can answer. The study is really very rich and interesting, but I would like to also.
Yes.
recommendations after this particular study, and also like to know the target. Who is actually the target? Because just like Monsignor Paglia said, we have the politicians who are those to implement the results from this study. So, what are the recommendations and the intended target of this particular study? Thank you.
Thank you. I think that maybe Francesco Belletti, have the researcher, can answer to this question.
I can say a few words, in fact. First of all, we wanted to have an evidence-based point of view on family topics at world level. So, first of all, we wanted to engage in a sort of a research and analysis debate on what is going around the family. Obviously, after you have a picture of this kind of vulnerabilities, stresses, and resources and resilience of families in the different national contexts, we will go to discuss these results with at least 3 or 4 targets. The policymakers, the governments, in fact, at local and national and international level, are the first target. We want to share our vision, our information, and then try to consider together which are the best solutions, the possible solutions or intervention. Then we want to support the research debate, since we want to highlight the active role of family, which is not a dependent variable from the economic system or from the public action. So we want to make more research on how families are active actors in the social life. And then we also want to discuss our findings with all the people who are working with and for the families. We wanted to share our findings with the family associations, with the NGOs, with the voluntary associations, with people who are working at the grassroots level with projects and sharing the family life condition all over the world. In order to listen to them, we offer a sort of focus. We put a small light on the family conditions, but we are sure that all the people working with families will teach a lot to us.
Thank you, Francesco Belletti. So I remind you that even all our partners from different countries are involved in this space of questions and answers. So you can also make questions to each of them. So please, if there is someone who would like to make some question, you can to ask the word. Okay. Okay. Atemanke Jude again.
Yes, sorry for coming back again. I just want some clarifications because I'm a journalist and doing an
If you are a journalist, you can present yourself.
Yeah, so I'm a journalist. I work with the Association for Catholic Information in Africa. We are based in Nairobi, Kenya.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, so a research of this magnitude demands a lot, and so I would like to one is bound to ask where the resources is coming from, or if that the Family International is just working with a group of volunteers. Even if you're working with a group of volunteers, you need a lot of resources to be able to carry out this kind of research. So where did you actually get the resources from to carry out the research? Question 2, we know in Africa we have these challenges as presented in the results. They are very obvious in Africa, but the huge problem is at the level of implementation of the results of such a study. how is it going to impact families in Africa and around the world?
Excuse me, I have to ask you who you wants to respond to these questions, if our partner from Kenya or our head of research.
I would like to, the floor is open to any of them, it's free. But
Okay.
Since we are talking about Africa, since I'm based in Kenya, the resource person in Kenya will be a good source.
Okay, so
yeah,
up to you from our partners, or if you want to respond to this question among partners, or even Francesco too.
I can say a few words on the economic support of the whole project, because this is a relevant question, and we started with a sort of co-funding among the three organizations who started the project, which is the Catholic University in Murcia, the John Paul II Institute in Rome, and the International Center for Family Studies in Milan. We devoted human resources and some fundings for doing that. Then we applied for some European-based fundings that partially supported our job. And also at local level, we tried to support some of the research centers, while other research centers self-funded the research activity. So it is a mixture work where voluntary and economic resources are well mixed together. And as for the impact, well, I think that in every country, we will not be able to have a direct impact on the local debate in various countries. But with these general results, we can support people working in the single countries.
Thank you.
Okay.
Maybe even Beatrice from Kenya would like to respond.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll say something small and see whether maybe Joseph would like to add something. If I understood your question correctly, at the monkey, I want to say that first of all, the resources that we used locally for the research were the university faculty giving their time because of commitment to family life and to improving families and improving especially the stature and the visibility of the family as a social actor. We would have liked to have support for these people who had to do an extra mile, but that was not forthcoming. So the research that was done with the support of the university and the individual resources of the faculty. In terms of the impact that this research can make, we were particularly aware, and I'd like Joseph to add to this, but we're particularly aware of the invisibility of the family as a public actor, so that the values of the family as such do not have clear channels for being expressed. So this is really important that we begin to speak in the name of families, and also to have families speaking and expressing their challenges. So to become a voice for families and to start discerning together what those forums can be that would be effective, so that families are speaking for themselves. So for me, it remains an open question and a very important question, because just as we have said in our conversation so far, it is very important that families can take charge of their own agenda. And so far, the poverty we experience is in fact precisely that families are really not in charge of their own agenda, and especially that the economics, the very depriving economics are driving most of family lives. That's what I'd like to say. I'd like to request Joseph, who was also on our team here, if he wants to add something. Or Sister Elena. I don't know whether Joseph is still on.
I don't know.
Sister Elena, are you there?
I'm here, yes, but I think you've given a very comprehensive answer there, Beatrice. Thank you.
Thank you. So we'll leave it at that. Thank you.
Okay, I don't understand if Sir Eleanor wants to speak or not.
No, it's okay. I think Dr. Churu addressed the question. I hope Atamanca is happy with that answer.
Okay, thank you. I see that Professor Imelda Diouf from South Africa asked the word. So if you can please to give the word to her. Please.
So just to add to what Beatrice has said, our findings is that family itself is marginalized, and then when family becomes a player in the public sector, its voice is one that is not heard. And it's not heard not only by politicians, it's not heard also within the church. And so this project, this study allows, first of all, the voice of families to go out to different leaders, be they faith-based leaders, be they cultural, traditional leaders, or indeed politicians. And I think, again, that cannot be underestimated as part of the impact that one wants to achieve out of this study. And the fact that one starts with the relational poverty issues forces one to look internally, to look at issues that can be resolved by families themselves, because not all issues around family life and family relations need state intervention. And so a study of this nature is important in that it grows the voice of families around issues and matters that family actually has control of. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Imelda Diouf. So I see that we are going out from our timeline because we are starting with a little bit late. So I would like to thank you all to have attended this meeting, to having participated this first presentation of a preview of the report 2020 that I remind you that will be published in October 2020. So I would like to thank you, Monsignor Pierangelo Sequeri, our Vice President and Dean of John Paul II Pontifical Theological Institute, all our partners involved now in this meeting, in the research, obviously. I would like to thank also Dr. Francesco Belletti from CISF of Milan, and obviously you in these days from now you can check and find in our website, our social and our web channels all the material of the research of this preview, the material about the relevant theme emerged in this first part of the preview, and obviously we will available to all of you for some informations and to give you next appointments of the future. So thank you all, and thank you, Monsignor Sequeri.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Okay,
and,
next time.
See you next time.
Yeah.
Thank you to our partners of Brazil, Chile, South Africa, Kenya, Lebanon, and so on.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
The family plays a crucial role in building a participatory and democratic society. Through the relations between generations and their participation in community life, families generate social capital, enhancing a new circular economy that is more supportive and fairer. No man is an island. No family can stand alone, but no society can stand if it forgets family ties.